IBM presents You Make the Call.
Now this play that we are going to review, it was a head scratcher for me. And I didn't know who deserved the salute to service or the middle finger salute. So luckily you're here to make heads and tails of it so that it'll be sent. When you're done, I'll be able to say, okay, thank you, Ray. And I can move on to the next one. So are you ready to go under the hood and call it how you see it, Ray?
I am ready, sir. Let's do it.
All right, let's get it done.
Turning out a video you'll only see on 10, a trooper doing a pit maneuver to try to stop who he thought was a suspect, except the person behind the wheel also wears a badge. Local 10's Ian Margold joins us live from Miami Gardens with new reaction from top brass. Ian.
So we are getting some answers about this incident, but there are still major questions. In particular, why was this Opa-locka police officer flying through traffic, going through red lights with no emergency lights or sirens on at all? A spinning, crashing end chase after a Florida Highway Patrol trooper used the precision immobilization technique, better known as a pit maneuver, on an Opa-locka police captain.
He had no lights on his car and he was hauling. I thought it was the car.
It happened around 10:35 p.m. on November 29th. FHP tells us they got reports of a car fleeing a traffic stop and driving recklessly. So Trooper Walner Roy activated his lights and sirens and began searching for the vehicle. Then, a few minutes later, he spots this dark-colored Kia Stinger speeding along the 826 and cutting through traffic. So he assumes this is the car he's looking for. Roy follows the Kia off the highway and onto Northwest 167th Street, both cars still speeding eastbound. The Kia goes right through a red light at Northwest 17th Avenue and eventually makes a left turn on red to go northbound on Northwest 12th Avenue. Moments later, the trooper pulls up next to the Kia and performs the pit.
Pit.
But then the driver of the Kia leans over and turns on his own red and blue lights. Turns out that's Opa-locka Police Captain Corey Crotenberg.
Kidding me? Oh, I got the wrong car. I didn't see the lights in the back.
Opa-locka police tell us he was participating in a multi-agency gang task force operation and that a police helicopter was above helping officers on the ground track a suspect vehicle that was involved in a violent crime.
It's a blacked out car. It was right on it. Oh my gosh.
So FHP tells us Trooper Roy is not being investigated for this incident. He is not facing any discipline because they say he had reason to believe this car was driving recklessly and not listening when he was being told to stop, which is understandable. That car was unmarked and had no emergency lights on or sirens. And when we asked Opa-locka about that, they tell us there were no violations that they saw. But we said, look, he was going through red lights. He was going through traffic at a high rate of speed. No sirens, no emergency lights. They told us they had no further comment. We're live in Miami.
So, PD, before we let Ray bring it home, I got to say, man, that this video felt Keystone Caperish. And it reminded me of the two Spider-Man memes where they're looking at each other, blaming each other for, you. What's your takeaway?
Well, I wasn't out there. I didn't see what he saw, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it certainly would appear that this mistake might have jeopardized this operation in some way. Of course, we don't have that information. I'd hate to think that it did, but I almost can't see how it wouldn't. He was in pursuit, and the guy did make a mistake, but mistakes happen, and that's why pencils have erasers, I guess. But a captain, even, it's you could tell he just felt awful about it, but far be it from me to even begin to try to tell what kind of salute this should be.
Okay, well, Ray, what's going on here? And what kind of salute is warranted?
Yeah, well, what's going on is first of all, you got two agencies, so they're not on the same radio frequency. Now, what was kind of strange, and I know in other states, I speak primarily for California, but you've got a captain who's involved in this. First of all, captains in California, you wouldn't find any captain being involved in this undercover operation, which tells me that this other agency the captain's from is probably from a small agency, maybe less than 20 personnel. And, in those cases, a lot of times they have to step up to fill in the gaps with limited personnel. So now the way he was driving, now he was part of this task force. They were surveying somebody, and he was trying to get as close to this vehicle that they had under surveillance as possible. Now, absent the patrol officer attempting to pull him over, the way this guy was driving, that is permitted. Undercover guys are insane. I never worked undercover, but I'll tell you, these guys are nuts, because I've ridden with them a few times and gone out and done surveillance on properties I've written search warrants on, and they drive like maniacs. They're blowing red lights, they're doing this and that, and it's simply because they have to emulate the people that they're trying to track. When a suspect thinks he's being followed, they'll blow red lights 2, 3 at a time just to see if they pick up any stragglers. So they need multiple vehicles out there, and yeah, they're going to blow red lights. Sometimes these undercover guys have infiltrated, gangs like the Hells Angels, other organized crime organizations, and they have to assume the role of a criminal. So they drive like one, they act like one, they do what criminals do. So that aside, now this trooper who is following this guy, he did everything right. He got a call, he found the vehicle and attempted to pull the vehicle over. Now, what this captain should have done, I'm assuming that the captain was on the radio to his dispatch, telling their dispatch to contact this agency's dispatch to let him know, hey, you're trying to pull over an on-duty vehicle involved in a surveillance, back out. That wasn't going to happen. At least it didn't happen in time before the pit maneuver took place. So all those things combined, yeah, everybody was doing what they were supposed to do. But in the situation with this captain, once he realized that the patrol unit was not backing off and he was not being told that he was following law enforcement, he should have gone ahead and pulled over. Because things are just going to get, way too dangerous. And, so him having to get out, he would just have to make up time and, try to get back into where he was. But yeah, those things happen.
So, Ray, we need a final verdict. Who gets the salute? Who gets the middle finger? Anyone? Both? Neither? What do we have here?
There's I give like a half middle finger to the captain. And that's one reason why captains should just stay in the station. Just stay there, because I'm telling you, and lieutenants too. I mean, when I worked homicide, the last thing you wanted was a lieutenant or a captain in your crime scene. Because all they do is show up. Right?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, because they show up and, you know what you're doing, or you wouldn't be there. So they show up and they make an appearance because, well, they want to see the dead bodies. So, they show up and it's to gawk at first, and then they want to, impale all their great pearls of wisdom upon you, just to show that they know, what's going on. And, and as usual, we're 3 chess moves ahead of them. And then they finally just like, okay, and leave, which is what you want. I think anybody else that was working narcotics, a rank and file, probably would have pulled over. They wouldn't have continued to have this officer pursue him, because you got to think about it. Even though, it's a pursuit, the officer, the uniformed officer who's chasing this guy, his life is in danger. And you got to put that versus what it is you're chasing. And is it really that important that you stay in this chase versus thinking of the officer's safety that's chasing you?
Hmm. Well, that motherfucker got pitted, didn't he?
Yeah.
That was a neat, well-executed pit.
Yeah, it absolutely was. It was beautiful.
And well, considering the weight of the officer, or the captain in this case, that got out of the car. I don't know if you saw his vest hardly covered half his stomach when he got out.
Wow.
He's lucky that he was able to pit that vehicle at all.
It's a good thing he didn't resist arrest.
Yeah.
And Ray, someone from an earlier story that we had about the New York Feralball Giants player who beat the woman with the iron.
Yes.
Someone used your name to say that women are iron deficient.
Well, women are often known to be iron deficient. That is true.
All right. Well, just want to make sure that that